Let's play!
Hey guys, it's me, Alexa from Alexa Plays Games. Today, I'm gonna yap about the Gadget Rework. I initially wanted to yap about how it affected the brawlers I mastered, so I played all of them on all of my accounts for the BB challenge, and then promptly lost half of my footage. But in the end, I figured it might actually be a good thing because I figured it would be more interesting if I asked my awesome community in my Discord server, link in the description, how they felt about it. So, without further ado, let's yap about the Gadget Rework. Now first, my thoughts on it. Now I should preface my opinions by mentioning that players' opinions on the rework is all over the place, including the opinions of pros. There doesn't seem to be a community consensus on this one. My overarching feelings about it though, it's pretty fun for certain brawlers and really uncomfortable for others, but is it the end of the world? No. I felt like the community was a bit dramatic when everything was introduced, but then again, that's a good way to describe the brawl community. Dramatic.
Finally! My 15 minutes of flame!
But let's just get started with my favorite brawler, Amber. Because let's be honest, most of you guys watching this want to know what I think about how it affected my girl. I think the Gadget Rework made both of her gadgets better, not gonna lie. I still will die on the hill that Fire Starters is the best gadget, but it also improved Dancing Flames, which I will use in Heist and any sport mode like Brawl Hockey and Brawl Ball. I still contend it's not enough protection against her biggest counters, assassins, because they just jump right into the middle of the flames and give her besito, so like it really doesn't help at all. The only way to really deal with them is to burn all their grass so they can't surprise attack you with fire starters. As long as you know where they are, you can handle them with the right footwork, so yeah, fire starter still wins. But I need on maps that have very little grass to begin with and modes where you're not gonna have time to just stand by a puddle and charge up your super. You might as well take Dancing Flames. Dancing Flames is really best for punishing enemies hiding behind walls and dealing with tanks and other tanky things. So while before I found myself using up all three gadgets in the early game, now you can use it every time that situation arises. The only nerf it got was in Heist. She still does more damage in a shorter period of time than Melody with her gadget and basic, but now once your gadget is done, you have to retreat or just let them kill you so you can respawn and defend her safe. So yeah, I do consider the cooldown in Heist to be a nerf. Before the rework, she could get like 60% off the safe by spamming gadgets and unloading her ammo in one go, but now you have to reach the safe twice, or once you reach the safe, retreat. The good news is that 40% off of the safe is still ridiculously good, even if you get taken down by the enemy who just respawned. If you make it to the safe one more time, it's usually GG's, as long as your teammates do the other 20%, which normally they will do if they're any good. So making it to the safe once is probably all you need with good teammates, although I get it. Randoms will random. So if you're playing with randoms, you have to probably get to the safe twice. But outside of Heist, it's definitely above. The 14-second cooldown, I think, is pretty fair, seeing as it's not her best gadget. I will die on this hill, it's not her best gadget. But it still has its uses in situations where you'll need it, and those situations will pop up throughout the average game of Brawl Ball and Brawl Hockey, and if you do use it in other modes, which I find highly ill-advised, but if you do, it will still come in handy throughout the entire game. You can use it to just melt the HP of tanks trying to come after you, as well as put a lot of pressure on enemies hiding behind a wall, especially the wall in front of the goal. You can push them into the goal and make it easier for your teammates to score. So yeah, it's nice that now you'll always have that when you need it, and you don't have to worry about holding onto a gadget just in case you'll need it. It's a definite buff in sports modes, and for sure that's where you'll find so much tank or tanky pets like Bruce coming after you the most, so it's definitely useful there. Just don't expect it to protect you from the non-consensual assassin kisses. For that, you need to get better at Controller Amber and get better at her footwork.
Who's famous now? Muy caliente!
Speaking of Controller Amber, Firestarters was definitely buffed by the Gadget Rework too, because you can cover so much area with Firestarters now. It's absolutely busted. Thank you, Mr. Mistopheles, for demonstrating that for me. It's so fun covering the map with Firestarters gadgets. Like, the area control, guys, it's so beautiful. Sometimes in the middle of a game, I'll just stand there charging up my next super and admiring my handiwork, because before the Gadget Rework, I treated all 3 gadgets like gold. Each gadget puddle had so much value, so I had to protect it at all costs. Every time I accidentally burned a Firestarter's puddle, I get really sad, I'm not gonna lie. But now I've been enjoying using this gadget to its fullest throughout the entire game. I used to play Amber with that mindset of, how can I control this map with 3 puddles on the ground at once? So I would normally place it somewhere I could duck back to heal up, and I wouldn't run the risk of accidentally burning it. But now I put a gadget absolutely everywhere. In key entrances, areas we want to control like the zone or where gems spawn, as well as where I heal up. So now I think instead, how can I cover this map with my gadget and use my super for area control and kills? Not to mention, every 15 seconds you get a speed boost for Amber, and trust me when I say Amber plus speed equals amazingness. Overall, Amber has definitely benefited a lot from the rework, no matter what gadget you use, but especially if you use her best gadget, Firestarters. But enough about my favorite. I could literally yap about Amber all day. What about some of your guys' favorites? Now, first off, there are a lot of tank lovers in my community for sure, and I think it's great that the Gadget Rework has helped a lot of tanks out. It's tough being a tank specialist. There are so many tank counters in the game, it's ridiculous. What the average tank main has to overcome on a constant basis is crazy. Sometimes I'll realize, oh yeah, I haven't played Frank or Buster or whoever in a while. Let's just play them to get some Ultra Box trophies. And then I matched against nothing but tank counters 4 games in a row, and I remember why I don't play these brawlers very much. You have to absolutely love tanks to play them, because Supercell does not give these brawlers a lot of love, and that's how I've always felt about tanks and their gadgets. I've always thought it was so silly how tanks relied so much on their gadgets. In my opinion, a good brawler doesn't need a gadget or a star power to be good. They're already good at their base kit. Some examples are definitely Amber, Belle, Larian, Thori, Juju, Griff, Melody, Bay. These brawlers just need their basic attack and super to be good. Their gadgets and star powers enhance them, but they're already good before that point. But if you think about it, and this includes my beloved BB, most tanks rely heavily on their gadgets. I've been playing my extra mini BB without a gadget, and oh boy, it has been so weird. Her healing gadget is incredibly important, but the same can be said for Buster, Sam, Funkadunk, Bull, and even Daryl. They all rely on their gadgets quite a bit. I only recently bought my mini Daryl a gadget because I got his hyper in a drop and powered him up, but at that point I didn't bother with the gadget because I thought to myself, well, his basic and super is really all he needs, right? Wrong. Oh my god, playing Daryl without a gadget was absolute pain for me. That slow is pretty crucial. So yeah, before the Gadget Rework, I often thought, It's so silly that a tank only has 3 to 4 of these when really they need this the entire game. They were designed to rely on it. So in a way, the Gadget Rework just fixed this problem for most of the tanks who rely on their gadgets and made them a lot better.
A fool messes with my pool.
But unfortunately, that wasn't the case for every tank, and I've heard plenty of players complaining about one tank in particular, and I'm with them. Our beloved Draco suffered from this rework. His gameplay was constructed by Supercell to depend on his gadget. Yes, it's one of the best gadgets in the game. His invulnerability is crazy good, but 22 seconds is so punishing. When you think about it, Draco's basic attack isn't enough to make his basic hit good. He relies on his gadget to transition from his base to super form. Most of the time, Draco relies on taking damage to charge up his super, which also means that Draco needs his gadget to survive long enough to activate his super. Since the Gadget Rework, I have wasted so many Draco supers, it's not even funny. Why construct a brawler to heavily rely on his gadget and then nerf it to that degree? I think they should either rework the gadget so that it's good but maybe not that good, or more realistically, reduce the cooldown to like 20, maybe 18 seconds. Yes, it's an amazing gadget, but Draco really suffers without it, and before the rework, he had finally become meta again after being at the bottom of the meta for so long. It was such a low blow to do to our favorite dragon rider.
Not to blow my own whistle, but I'm awesome.
But you might be one of those who believe that even if tanks have more gadgets to use during the course of a game, it was still not good for them because now you can't make gadgets like you used to. Well, I gotta disagree with you, Yanro. You're still my goat, but I disagree. Yes, the key now is understanding how long cooldowns are, but since most gadgets, except for a few bad gadgets, have a cooldown of at least 10 seconds, that actually means you can still bait them. If you were to watch my Brawlatine Eddy, who is pretty much a pro at baiting any gadget and any super while playing his beloved tanks, I think you'd see what I mean. Any tank specialist knows how to bait so that it's safe for them to pounce. And you can still do that. You just now have to always assume that they have a gadget and bait them to use it. Then at that point, you know they won't be able to use another one for a significant amount of time, so that's the time to strike. Before, you could just spam gadgets in tricky situations, but now for certain brawlers, it's all about making each gadget count. If a brawler relies on a gadget to counter a tank, you can bait them into using the gadget much like you'd bait them into using their super. It's not exactly the same, but comparable. You bait supers with the understanding that they needed to defeat you, and probably will charge it up later. It's the same with the gadget cooldown, only the time between gadgets is predetermined while supers take skill to charge up usually, unless you're a Vision Gear Edgar main. That's why I agree with ST-Men's pain. The more brawlers I play after the rework, the more I find that, yeah, every brawler is playable. It takes some adjustment, but overall it just ends up exactly like how my goat Lemon said. For most brawlers, you don't spam your gadget as soon as the cooldown is over. You just use it when you need it, and the only difference is that you don't have to be so careful about using them anymore. If you want to jump over every wall with Cordy, you can definitely do so now, and this way, you don't need to worry about getting value out of every single gadget. That is definitely a plus in my opinion.
Damn, this is the worst.
I also agree with ST-Men's tacos. It hurt some and helped some, and it really brought to light what brawlers relied on their gadgets. So pretty much the brawlers with the really broken gadgets like Dinah's and Kenji's, and while Tacos didn't mention her, definitely Lily. While just as Philip pointed out, brawlers whose gadgets aren't broken but still extremely useful like Max's and Gray's definitely make the brawler better throughout the game now. Even though Max's gadget has a longer cooldown, the fact she gets more than 4 a game was still a slight buff to her. But that also means you have to be very careful about not falling for bait, which I learned the hard way. But as I said before, the Gadget Rework definitely made some brawlers more fun and some brawlers more uncomfortable to play. Some of you guys mentioned how Chester is now more fun to play because the cooldown for his gadget is a lot less now, and I mean, Chester had been suffering in the meta, so it's nice to see him get a little love, but my concern is when his Hypercharge comes out, which definitely looks really good, is that gonna make him too broken? I guess we'll have to wait and see. And yeah, it's also so fun to try out these short cooldown gadgets that are bad, but like, why not just try it? And some of you have mentioned liking it a lot, but seriously, Basic, I'm surprised you didn't mention Ash's Rotten Banana gadget, because I definitely tried that one and it was interesting, but I'm not sure how I feel about it. So yeah, these new changes have made some brawlers more fun, and it has been very interesting experimenting with these different gadgets, but it has definitely also made other brawlers more uncomfortable to play. One example, at least for me, is Janet. So I have to agree with possibly the most goated Janet main ever, Rain Cloud. This is true. The Gadget Rework made Drop the Bass more uncomfortable to use. Because after the rework, while finishing up my Hypercharged Janet guide, I realized how much I spammed it before. Well, in the past, even though I only had 4 gadgets a game, I was pretty reckless with it because there are just so many uses for it, it's crazy. So post-rework, it has forced me to try and find ways to get the most value out of it as humanly possible. It's like how I used to treat Amber's Firestars gadgets. Now I treat every Drop the Bass gadget like it's precious gold, and I need to protect it and get the most value out of every single one of them. Because if Janet's Drop the Bass gadget can last for its full duration of 10 seconds, then the cooldown is pretty minimal, 10 seconds. But if you waste your gadget, you're now gadgetless for 20 seconds, which honestly has made me appreciate her stage view star power even more. Now if that happens, but I have my super charged up, I may just use her super to find the enemies because I don't like not knowing where they are, and I want to help my teammates stay safe as well. So the 6 seconds of vision support vastly reduces the discomfort of the 20-second cooldown, for me at least. So it has definitely changed my Janet gameplay on grassy maps, but if you use Backstage Pass, I get why you would think that it hasn't changed too much, because honestly, I don't use that gadget very often, but when I do switch gadgets, you know, I've noticed that it's pretty much the same. It's always there when you need it, which is nice. But I still think her Drop the Bass gadget is her better gadget. Even with the longer cooldown, it still wins. But for other turret gadgets like Leon's Lollipop gadget, which Omar brought up, it's actually a little broken, having only a 20-second cooldown. So I get why Supercell made all turrets have the same cooldown, but not all turret gadgets provide the same amount of value, and they definitely didn't take that into consideration. So yeah, I'd prefer it if they reduced the cooldown for Drop the Bass, but Janet is already so good without her gadget, I doubt they will, because that would be considered a buff, and she's like S tier right now. But I think they could have timed the Gadget Rework and the Hypercharge release better. I feel like they really rushed things, and it led to the meta being a bit muy toxico. Some brawlers who rarely saw the light of day before are now undeniably broken, like the Penguin, who shall remain nameless out of too much trauma, and the Shrimp, with their gadgets paired with their new hypers, making them a menace to society. And I mean, are you telling me that Supercell was not aware that these broken hypers mixed with the Gadget Rework wouldn't make these brawlers absolutely broken? They were nerfed to the bottom of the meta for a good reason. When these brawlers were freshly released, they were so broken. So when they're meta, the meta is always insanely toxic. And when Supercell lets the meta get this toxic, crazy things happen, like the EMEA monthly finals this weekend. While I was making my predictions, I didn't take the crazy meta we're in into consideration. But the reason the underdogs prevailed and Humble and Foot lost were abundantly clear in hindsight. EMEA love their control-based comps, and this is a very legendary, low-skill, high aggression with toxic brawlers meta that Supercell has gleefully dumped on us. So, it makes sense that the region that is 100% draft dependent would have massive upsets in this crazy meta. But in some other ways, I'm happy about some brawlers seeing the limelight finally. Poco, for instance, has always been an underrated brawler in my opinion, and since both of his gadgets are undeniably good, it's no wonder pros are loving him for drafting. In case you haven't heard, Poco's gadget, Protective Tunes, which has been completely neglected by the casual fanbase, but still used as like a surprise counter pick by the pros before the rework, was given an 11-second cooldown. I'm sure if you're a casual player, you're asking, so? But this gadget removes active adverse effects like slows, stuns, poison, fire burning for 4 seconds, which means the real cooldown for this gadget is 7 seconds. So if you're drafting in ranked and the enemy picks Byron, Amber, Lou, Odace, and like way more, Poco counters all of them now. Because every 7 seconds, the enemy team is going to be immune to your attacks and make you all but useless. That's right, guys, we're finally in a meta where Nerf Poco is no longer a joke. Another thing that has been really interesting about the Gadget Rework is now there's more potential for map control, or more landscape project gadgets, as my knight in shining armor Jotaro Kujo would say. You guys know I'm pretty much in favor of map control, but my favorite brawler literally burns bushes to torture brawlers who need that grass to play their brawler properly. A big part of being a good Amber is map control, but now we have a bunch of brawlers who can break walls and break grass with their gadget, who can completely manipulate the entire map and make not just grass dwellers irrelevant, but throwers as well. Griff, for example, has a 16-second cooldown for piggy bank, so you can run around and break every wall on the map and make the lives of tanks, assassins, throwers, and, well, players who are bad at dodging so much worse. So if you pair Griff with a brawler who loves open maps, who counters those brawlers when the map is open like Bay, then you could easily gain trophies or win in ranked. Map control is an important form of control, so brawlers with gadgets who can break walls and grass are definitely getting their moment to shine, like Griff and like Brock.
Challenge accepted.
But overall, I think it was a buff for most of the brawlers who had a normal 15-second or less cooldown for their gadget, even if it didn't make them broken, because having more gadgets is overall a good thing in my opinion, and in a lot of cases, I could totally see a lot of gadgets just be dumb broken if they ever reduce the cooldown. Sorry, Cold, Mandy's Pierce gadget included. The ability to pierce through environment is a pretty rare ability, and left unchecked, oh boy, it would be so broken. So yeah, I think 16 seconds is fair, actually. I don't want Mandy's, who are pretty much immortal already, hiding in the back, piercing through walls to kill me every 10 seconds. Thank you. The fact her super does that too is more than enough for me to worry about. You might point to the mosquito's pierce being 14 seconds, but the mosquito is unique because unless you have absolutely no job and play claw, only the jobless would do that, like La Papa said, you're not gonna use this gadget except for in specific situations where you have grass to hide you as you charge up your next shot. Some cooldowns need to stay where they are, and some need to be reduced, and some need to be increased. But Supercell did say that this would be a process, and it would take them months to balance everything. So don't despair, Cold. Maybe Supercell will eventually decide that 14 seconds is fair for Mandy's Pierce gadget. I hope not, but maybe. So yeah, we didn't ask for this, it made the meta crazy, and your favorite may or may not be suffering right now. But my final thoughts on the rework is about whether or not it was necessary. I'm not sure if it was necessary, but I do understand why Supercell decided to do this, and no, it's not just to make Lily mains cry. The truth of the matter is, yeah, some gadgets really needed a rework, some really needed to be nerfed, but there are currently 89 brawlers in the game, soon to be 90 brawlers once Lumi comes along. That means by the end of this year, we're gonna have 100 brawlers in the game. That's 200 gadgets. Yeah. Imagine how difficult the management of gadgets are going to be for them. I can imagine it's already difficult seeing as they've let quite a few problems just slip through the cracks. So I do think Supercell trying to come up with a solution that they could use in the future to moderate all of the gadgets and try to keep them all as balanced as possible was inevitable. Was this the best way they could do that? Who knows? But it's what we got. Hopefully they keep tinkering with it and adjusting cooldowns and try to balance everything as soon as possible, because I hate broken metas, okay? It's not fun for casuals, it's even less fun for pros, and even for players like me who are somewhere in between casual and pro, it's definitely not enjoyable to try to fend off 5 hypercharged penguins as a ginormous shrimp comes after me, okay? So yeah. Is it a good idea? Maybe. I think in the future, it could be. Does it need more work? Oh my god, yes! Hopefully, this Muy Toxico meta will be balanced out soon.
And the burning continues. Wow, so much heat!
Hope you guys enjoyed my yap session on the Gadget Rework. A big thank you to Eddy, Lexx, and Jotaro Kujo for the carries. You're my goats. If you're not in my server but you'd like to tell me how the Gadget Rework affected your favorite brawler, make sure to leave a comment and let me know. I love hearing from you guys. I'm hosting watch parties for the monthly finals in my server, so if you want to join and yap about the monthly finals, make sure to join. Link in the description. I know it's been a while since I've posted anything, but I think I needed a break from YouTube so I could come back fresh and make more high quality videos for you guys. So now I have a few guides in the work and some other video ideas too, so stay tuned. But until then, play later guys. Mwah.